Morgan.
And I'm Zach.
And this is our channel, Life After Leaping. Just to introduce ourselves, I am 39.
I'm 33.
And just get that out there now. I'm from California, Southern California, and spent part of my childhood there and part of it in the Pacific Northwest.
I'm from Northern California, small mining town, and was there for all my childhood.
Yeah. And we've been married for almost 14 years. It'll be 14 years in September. And we bought our first house in California. That's where we started our family. And a little backstory to where we are now. We've definitely had to hit the reset button on our lives, which is not something I thought would happen at this point. I'm pushing 40, but that's just how it happens sometimes. We decided California wasn't really where we wanted to be for the phase of life we were in, and the market was crazy at that time. So we thought we would take advantage of that and sell our house. And we decided to maybe try and slow things down, try a different way of life, and we moved to the Pacific Northwest. That was summer of 2021.
Well, we had one, and then we were pregnant with our second. So yeah, we wanted to try and slow things down a little bit. Things were pretty busy and hectic in California.
Yeah, and when we moved, she would have been almost a year old, a little under a year old when we moved. So we started looking for houses, and that was tough. We made probably 12 offers on houses before we finally got the right one, and we're glad it worked out. We really love the house, and we did some work on it to fix it up. It wasn't in the greatest of shape when we moved in, but it was on about 3/4 of an acre. We started our small farm there. We had goats and chickens and our dogs. The kids loved it. But then by the following year, Zach is in real estate, and I had quit my job to be home with the kids. And it was the first time I wasn't working full time. But by that following year, 2022, things had really slowed down.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was another big change in our lives because I was traveling to California too much for work, and because real estate was slowing down, I was having to either go more often or stay longer, be away from the family, and that wasn't something that we wanted. So I ended up getting a government job while still staying in real estate on the side. But it was still slowing down, and it wasn't sufficient to keep up and maintain, let alone get ahead with where we were at the time.
Yeah, our expenses were definitely exceeding our income at that point when things slowed down, and we kind of had to make a decision and figure out if we were going to just let things play out, see what happened, see if real estate picked up, and maybe we could keep things as they were, status quo. But the other option was to sell and downsize, so that decision wasn't made for us and we lose the house, which was a possibility. So we decided to sell. Put the house on the market. It sold in a week. But the scarier part is that we didn't have any place to go. We knew we needed to sell the house, but with all of our animals, we knew it would be hard to rent. A landlord is not likely going to let you move in with your 3 big dogs and your goats and your chickens. So we started looking and decided to buy undeveloped land and an RV. And we moved on our property in December of 2022. And when I say undeveloped, I mean nothing. It was woods. We needed to bring in utilities. We didn't have power at first. We had a temporary power pole that we had set up. We started with making sure we had fencing and housing for the animals, but yeah, we had to bring in power and drill a well. We were using a water tank at first to get our water. It took a long time to get a septic system set up. So we were kind of a little bit off grid there for a while. And we lived in the RV for a year, which was kind of a fun adventure for the kids, I think. We had all our animals. We ended up adding sheep and geese to the farm.
She added those things.
I added those things. You liked the geese. You didn't like the geese?
Messy. No.
They are messy. They are messy, but they're hilarious and adorable. So yeah, we were in the RV for a year, But then that kind of changed too, our situation, because we wanted to build a small house so we could move out of the RV. So we hired a contractor and we built a small house, 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And we were on about 4 acres, and the house was under 950 square feet.
It was 936.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
I mean, the whole project was a plan to try and simplify to a point.
right.
But while still being in the States, obviously. So we were going to maybe build another house, have a mother-in-law quarters, or have a rental income, have the homestead for a little supplemental income, some of our own food, experience for the kids. But that's not really how it was going.
Yeah, things were just becoming really costly, and we weren't getting the return that we were kind of hoping for. And it got to a point where we were so busy just trying to maintain everything. You were working 2 jobs. I was managing the construction project, and then when the house was done, it was mostly the farm and juggling the kids' schedules. And we were enjoying our lives. We liked where we were and what we had built, but we were tired, and I think we were kind of drowning in it. And the catalyst for us when we started talking about leaving, Isla, our dog, when we started deciding to leave the United States, was when our son came to me and said, "I miss Daddy." And that was really tough to hear. We didn't realize how much time he felt like he was missing with us as a family. And Zach was working a lot, just trying to cover everything. And, he'd get home from work at what would seem like a normal time, but it's shortly before the kids go to bed. And they were noticing. They were really noticing. And when they brought that to our attention, we had a really long talk about it, because we both grew up in families where our dads worked a lot, and as parents they want what's best for their families, and a lot of times the priority is put on finances and just providing financially. But then we started thinking we wanted to try something different, do things a little bit differently, and that was really the catalyst for us, that he missed him, and we didn't want him to miss him, and we didn't want to miss anything ourselves. And so we decided, you know what, there's got to be a different way to do this. And so we started talking about moving again, and we had only been on the property for a year, and we had only been in the house. The house was done December of 2023, and we had this conversation maybe probably about 6 weeks, a month or two, somewhere in there.
It was mid-January.
Yeah, so maybe like a month and a half.
Once we finally moved in.
After we moved into the house, which is crazy. I mean, even people we talked to were like, "Oh, you just moved in the house, and now you're thinking about
selling or moving.
Maybe leaving the country." But we had done some research, and it was something that was on our radar before we had kids. We traveled a lot before we had the kids. We've been to over 30 countries together. And even when we had the kids, we traveled. So our son has been to several countries with us. Our daughter was born during COVID, so she didn't take her first flight until last year. Yeah, last year. When we flew to California to apply for our visas. So that's how we got to the point where we were planning to move out of the States. And then the process to start moving is where things got tricky. There was definitely a lot of sacrifice. We had to pretty much give up everything. We had debt we had to pay off. We had to get rid of vehicles and look into homeschooling and find good homes for all of our animals. So it was a lot. And then, of course, coming up with the funds to even qualify for the visa process, which we'll probably do another video about that so we don't take too long. But it was a lot, and we definitely jumped through a lot of fiery hoops. There were a lot of leaps of faith, a lot of hurdles, but looking back now, I can see that it was the right thing for us, even though it was really hard at the time. So many crazy things happened last year, some that were really heavy, and we'll share some of that in another video. But yeah, so that was our few of our first big leaps, leaving California and then moving out of our house onto undeveloped land, and then leaving the farm that we built to move out of the country. So yeah, that's a little bit about us. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you.